I'll give a brief overlay of what happens, what's going on here. So, what you see in front of you guys is the area of the Deadlands that I've chosen for the particular base build. This area, the reason why I picked it was, so like the Black Desert City is it's not a bad spot, right? Like it's in the dead center of of the Deadlands, and it's not a terrible spot, but it's also not super well fortified, right? Like it's on a hill in the middle of the Black Desert, so thematically it makes a bit of sense because they do have that uphill advantage, and they can kind of see all around them as well as you can see in the Black Desert. But I specifically chose to go somewhere that would be a little bit more defendable, because I also feel like even though it's at the top of the on top of the hills there, it's not put together super well. It's just a couple of shacks, a couple of buildings that is like posted up in the middle of nothing, right? So I picked over here, and my thought was that this area here would provide a natural sense of protection, because this outer wall here would act as a natural barrier to keep anybody from coming in or leaving, right? And so the only ways that someone can get in or out would be through right here, right? They'd either have to come straight up and across the river, or they'd have to come straight up and go around through here. So if we block off this area over here and create a point of entrance over here across the river, it will naturally kind of act as like a buffer or a barrier for people coming in and out, right? So first thing I do anytime I come and do a build is place down one of these shacks, right? You don't want to place this down using the Shift F12. You want to manually build this shack. And the reason why you want to manually build this shack is that this will put the natural barrier in the Shift F12 that you see right here. So you can kind of see this ring here. This ring is the border for the territory that I control. And that border is incredibly important, because what the border does is it makes anything that you place inside the circle able to be moved. Now, if you don't place that border, anytime you save and reload, your buildings are going to be gone. Like, they're going to be there, but they're not going to be listed as yours. They're going to be listed as being owned by the local faction. And that's a problem. You don't obviously want them to be listed as being owned by the local faction. That's a problem. So you always want to place down this shack before you ever mess with the Shift F12 menu. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of problems later on, and you're also going to be more liable to experience crashing, right? Now, I've only ever crashed using the Shift F12 menu once, and it was because I did not place down that first shack. So anytime you do any experimentation with the Shift F12 menu in the in-game editor, you're going to want to hit and build that shack. Sorry, I took the top off so you can read the depth of field off so you could read that. But yeah, you're going to want to place down that shack. It's very important. It's going to be like the cornerstone of everything you do. So first thing we do after we build that shack is I'm going to put together, I had a really good idea for creating like a bridgeway that connects these two islands here, and then having two separate gates, one over here and one over here, and then having them shoot down with harpoons towards the gate, right? So they'd be running across the bridge, and they'd be getting picked off at that choke point. It would create like a natural choke point, and it's a natural defense using the terrain to kind of create that defense. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use a building that I've never actually, I've only used like once or twice, and it is the metal warehouse right here. So this is those warehouses that you find throughout various points of Kenshi. A lot of them are First Empire ruins. These are not Second Empire, fun fact. These are not Second Empire ruins, these are First Empire. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is put that down. And my thought is that this would make like a nice like station house, right? Like an entry house. And so you're going to notice that when you're hovering over the water too, by the way, it looks like it's like cuts off just below the water. It doesn't. If you go raise it up and down, you can see that it breaks at the water. So it is below the water surface. It just doesn't render the preview above the water. So no big deal. Just keep that in mind when you're placing it down. So I'm going to go ahead and put this. I'm going to try and line it up so that way it's almost entirely in the water on both corners, both sides. And I'm going to place it. And I just want to make sure that it's lined up with the area that I want it to connect to, because I'm going to drop a bridge there as well. It's good. And to be honest, it's actually maybe a little low. No, it should be fine. It should be fine. All right, so we're going to confirm that. And then afterwards, we're going to put up a wall. not a wall, a gate. All right, so I'm going to use the defensive gate old, and I think I'm going to go with a defense 3 just because it's a little bit more fortified. Yeah, I think this has been here for quite the while. Now, because of the way this is shaped, this structure is shaped, it's going to be a little cockeyed, and that's okay. Typically, I'd be a little mad about it. Actually, you know what I can do? Maybe I can avoid it being cockeyed just by focusing on the side that's closer, more internal. And then I might be able to actually even get it so you could walk on it. Oh, no, there's a railing there. There's no point in worrying about that. Excuse me. Hello, everybody that just joined. Welcome to Mad Lads Live. I do appreciate you guys popping in. I've wanted to do these live build videos for quite the while. I know people have been asking for me to do them, so I do appreciate you guys dropping in. I look forward to chatting with you over the next, 2-3 hours while I'm getting this all put together. At least I assume that's how long it takes. It's about how long it usually takes me. So, all right. So that looks good, and we should still be able to, even though there's this little overlap, we should still be able to get up on top of the platform without much issue. So that should still function well. Now, all these buildings you're going to be able to pass through. Like I'll give you an example. So let me get out of the build menu real fast. You'll notice right now all of these buildings, you can just walk right through them, right? They're not persistent. The way we're going to fix that is that we are going to save and we're going to reload. So this is something that you're going to want to put into practice like a lot. Save and reload constantly when you're building with the Shift F12 menu, because not only does it make things persistent, but again, I've only ever crashed once, but if you do crash and you're 2-3 hours into a build and you haven't saved in like 45 minutes, it's not a happy feeling. It's not a good feeling. All right, so while we wait for things to load in, I'm going to go ahead and take my old soldier here, and I'm going to see if he can get up these stairs, which he should be able to. Yeah, so he can get right up there. No big deal. And actually, he can go right through the railing, and he can still get onto the gate, which isn't a big deal because like there's not much you need to do on the gate, but it's still a cool little aspect that you can do that. And this is the kind of testing that I usually do after my build videos for those who are familiar with my building content. This is the kind of testing I usually do afterwards, but I'll kind of go through it during the build just so you can kind of see that everything does work. I get a lot of people who ask me if my builds are functional. The answer is yes, they are all very functional. I test every one of them very rigorously. I just usually do it off camera because there's no point in doing it on the camera. And then if I run into an issue, I talk about it. But we're going to do it on camera this time. Okay, so the bridge that I was thinking for this is the metal arch bridge, right? I've never used this on a build before, so I think it'd be a lot of fun. I am going to continue with the dwarf series. This is not something I'm doing to like replace that or anything like that. It's just this is one of the two things that I'm focusing on right now, which is the dwarf series and this. I will be doing more of that. I'll be popping back into that later this week. But I wanted to put out a nice build video because I said I was going to kind of diversify things a little bit, and it's something that a lot of people have been asking for. But don't you worry about the dwarves. I will return to them here in a couple of days, for sure. And I also have a new video, not dwarf related, but a new video dropping on Tuesday for channel members, and it'll be out on Wednesday for everybody else as well. So a lot of good stuff. But yes, dwarves will be continuing. Don't you worry about that. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I had a lot of fun doing it the first time when I first started the channel, and I wanted to kind of recapture that magic. So I'm glad that everybody seems to be enjoying it so much. Try to get that position just right. I want it to be above the water, obviously, which it is barely, which is good, but I also want it to not clip into anything over here. But that looks good. And then once I save and reload, this will be functional and enjoyable. And usable. And so my thought was, you come in, you have this main gate, right? And then you tie it up with turrets right here, so that's kind of act as like the first line of defense. Then they get inside the structure here, and I'll lay more turrets up on the walls right here so they can kind of fire down. They come in, they have to fight off any enemies that they get in that initial gatehouse. Actually, I don't like how cockeyed this is. We're gonna move you over just a little bit. Just a little bit. ever so slightly. I need a better angle for this. I didn't realize how how far over to one side it was until I was done with it. Okay, much better. Yeah, so they come in, they get, have to fight their way through here, then they cross the bridge, and there's going to be another gate right here. And this gate is going to be the one that will defend the actual outpost itself. And like I said, I want this to be like a safer version of what the Black Desert City could have been. Because like the Black Desert City is supposed to be where the skeletons went for exile, right? And the idea makes sense because in lore, like no one's going to the Black Desert City. It's not not a happening spot. It's literally a torrential downpour of acid rain consistently. No one's going here. Oh, I'll show you again in just a minute where we are on the map. I showed it off right at the beginning, but I'll show you one more time. We are right here. So here's the Black Desert City. We're down in the bottom right corner here at this little lake right here. It's not in the center. So in terms of it like positioning in the Black Desert City obviously makes more sense for defense, right? But and it's just not built in a way that I think is conducive with being a defendable situation, right? It's up on the hill, but there's no walls. There's nothing to really defend them. There's no means of defense other than the skeletons themselves. And I know that they're here for exile, but you'd think that they would want something that's going to protect them more long term. So I want to build like a sanctuary where they could truly isolate themselves out. And this spot seems like a good area because it's not only does it have this acid lake, but it's also got this wall on the back that is essentially intraversible. All right, we'll go to the wall. What kind of wall is this? This is defensive gate 3, so we want a wall 3. And I'm going to do a small wall, and then I'm going to do a tower in the end. And typically I would do the towers first because they come out wonky if you try to build them after the wall, right? Because of the way that the engine works, like they come out super wonky. But because we're using the Shift F12, we can always just move them into place. And so I'm going to build these two walls here in kind of a get that kill box look, and hope, yeah, so that goes down pretty far. It's not all the way down to the ground, which is a little aggravating just because I'm super anal about stuff like that, but it should be fine. It should be fine. It's low enough that it shouldn't be a big deal. And now I just need a tower. Wall tower, and we're going to go with the tower 3, I think, just because we want to stick with the same theme. Yeah, so you see how it's kind of cockeyed right here? Typically, we would put the tower on after to avoid this, but we can always adjust it later on with Shift F12, so it's not that big of a deal. And I'm going to try and get it up as high as I can, and then obviously I'll come back to it afterwards to make it straighter, but like this one's really, really cockeyed, so it's super, super crooked. We're going to have to really adjust that later on, but... And so to adjust that, we're literally going to just rotate it until it lines up. And you want to make sure that it lines up relatively well up here. So do a nice little zoom in, make sure everything is tight and good. Looks solid to me. And I apologize for any creaking you guys hear. My ceiling is, well, it's creaky. It's very creaky. So we're going to just do a light rotate right there. And actually I'm going to alter you just a tiny bit, and that should be fine. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, so to get these to lock into each other the way that we want, I'm actually going to save and reload again. Again, something you're going to want to do really consistently throughout the course of your build. Super important. So we're going to save, we're going to reload. This is what makes all your buildings persistent, lets people walk on them, lets people use them. Otherwise, you'll just pass right through them. Alright, same deal. We're going to go back to making the wall. Try to wall off. Usually I wait to do the entirety of the wall in case I have anything anything, you know, crazy that I want to do, or if I want to use buildings as walls or anything like that. But in this one, I think I'm going to put the entire wall, and then if I have to adjust something later on, I can. I think that's probably the way that I'm going to go with this. Like, I think I'm going to go to, like, right here. And then that's not going to pass internally, right? That's still going to be a usable area. I should be able to still get up into that tower. I should still be able to get up into that tower. We'll check it out later, but... and then I think I'm going to put an actual tower right here. I haven't quite decided the types of building I'm going to use because there's not that much in terms of metal buildings. Maybe I'll use the Moore collection again from the original version of the game, but I don't know. What kind of towers do I want to use? I think we'll go. Yeah, we'll go Moore. They have an older look about them. It's not quite as functional as the other ones, I think, but it's got an older look to it. I think it'll be good. And we'll just go with the normal Moore. Is there one that maybe looks a little bit more decayed, actually? Nah, we'll just go with the normal Moore. Alright, so get this lined up. And we'll just kind of line it up with the tower here. I mean, with the wall here. And I probably end up building a small little, like, bridge that leads to this tower. Right here. Like I said, I really want this to be like a city that would be designed for skeletons by skeletons. So it's not going to be super practical from an organic sense, but it's going to be very practical from the sense of a skeleton. Yeah, that's good. It's good. Okay. So we've got that, and then this one's easy. We'll just close that wall right off. No big deal on that one. Over here, defense wall, and we're going with wall 3, old. And we'll just close this right off. Right there. Omski, no big deal. It's a little cockeyed, but again, this place has been here for, you know, close to 1,000 years. It's okay if it looks a little cockeyed. That's fine. That's totally good. All right, now the real question is, do we want to have a second? No, we don't want to have a second gate. That would be ludicrous to have a second gate, because what would be the point of the whole bridge? You know, there's no. Kind of eliminates the whole point. So what we are going to do, however, is I'm going to find a nice middle point where I can get 3 of these solid ones like this, and I may have to move it into position. Yeah, I may have to manually do this, but I'm using the Suki V2 reshade. It's the same reshade that I've used since I think 2021, 2022, somewhere in there. I've been using Suki for years. A good number of years. It's huge. I actually have a video. If you go to my community page, I recently posted not only did I post a link to the collection that I made for my mod order, but also a link to a tutorial video that I had made last year about how to install and use my preset for Suki Reshade. So if you're interested in making your Kenshi look like mine, that is what I would recommend. I have a whole tutorial on making it look this way, and my presets and all that stuff. So that would be my recommendation, if you're interested, of course. And we're gonna raise you up a little bit. How much wiggle room do I have? Oh, okay, so I got some room. So sometimes you got to manually move stuff around like this and get it into place this way. It's a little frustrating sometimes, but it's not the end of the world. You get used to it. It's a lot easier than you think. It's literally just making sure things are lined up. I tend to be a little bit more aggressive about it just because I'm super like anal about things looking a certain way. Like I'll never use those individual types of walls. They always have to be these longer 4-stack ones. Just because I hate the way they look. Not that they look like badly textured or anything, but they just like they throw off the whole vibe of the outpost. So I really try to make sure things are lined up properly and they look a certain way. Come on, you. Get a better angle so I'm not altering it so much. There we go. And then lastly, we're going to do this one as well. And this one shouldn't be as hard because it was already pretty close to the height that we wanted. And I'm actually going to rotate this a tiny bit to be more of a diagonal shape. And my thought is that I'll put a tower on this corner here to kind of close it in. Because there's that gap right here. And so I'll put another tower similar to this one right here to kind of close it off. And then I'll save it and reload. It's going to be your best friend when you're doing this is saving and reloading. You're going to be doing it like crazy. That's all I do, I swear. I don't actually build, I save and reload. Alright, we're going to drop you down just a little bit and drop you. And there we go. So now our base is totally closed off to the world. So we have a good foundation and a good frame to build our base. It's easily defendable, right? Because we have this kill box and we have this bridge here. So there's several points of defense that's going to keep this city protected in the interim before they even get to the base. And then once they get in the base, obviously they'll have to contend with whatever's here. But we're going to save and reload. That way in the event of an unfortunate crash, which does happen, but not often, we will be good to go. And it also makes these buildings persistent. How's everybody doing today? I do think that the build system in Kenshi 2 will be a bit more intuitive. I think a lot of it came down to engine limitations. I don't obviously know that for certain. You know, but I imagine a lot of the limitations that we experience came down to engine limitations. And being on Unreal 5, I think that the build menu will be a lot more intuitive based on what we have seen from the build menus. Because early on in Kenshi 2's development, they released a good handful of videos talking about, like, in the alpha stage when Kenshi 2 was first announced. They released a good handful of videos on the official Lo-Fi channel displaying some of the stuff with the build system. You know, the new grid system to snap things to it, the smoothness of moving things. Like, there's a physics engine now where if you try to place an item against a wall, it'll, like, hit the wall and won't go any farther. So, like, there's a lot of things in place that will make the building a lot more intuitive. I hope that it still lets me create, like, crazy stuff like this, but, you know, we'll see. We'll see. It really depends how they do. But I do think the building system will be much nicer. I think it'll be more intuitive and better than Kenshi 1 for certain. So, this is a skeleton base. So I do think that there's going to be some kind of a large outpost. Typically, I try not to use these a ton because they're just a giant, like, piece of, like a giant building, a giant eyesore. I think that they're cool and they do have their place, but I think that using them too much gets a little old and tiresome because they kind of eat up your base. But in this particular instance, it is a skeleton base, and I think the location yields to it pretty well, provided that it, you know, sits in just nicely. But I do think that it would make sense for this to be here, so I am going to put this as kind of the focal point, and this would be an ancient citadel. And this should be maneuverable if I did my placing correctly. If not, I can always adjust, but you should be able to squeeze through that gap without much of an issue. And I'll probably put another gate down there too, just because I love gates. I love making points of defense. You know, this is the bastion of the skeletons. This is going to be the place that they reside, where they've been sitting for 1,000 years. And so you're going to want it to be defendable. You know, it's got to be a place that they can defend in the event of attack from the enemies outside. Not that, again, anybody's actually going to the Black Desert City in the lore. This place is pretty well defended by nature because it's literally an acid-soaked hellscape. But in the event that you were to try and come to the Black Desert City with ill intent, there should be systems in place to defend them. I find it weird to believe that in 1,000 years nobody has showed up, or almost nobody has showed up to try and take this place. You know, maybe I'm looking at it too deeply, but I don't know. You know, we know that the Holy Nation will leave this place alone because, for God's sakes, the Armor King is right around their door and they haven't bothered him. But I find it interesting to believe that nobody has at any point tried to band together and do something about this. But who knows? Maybe I'm looking too deeply into it. Maybe we'll skip that gate for now because I can't seem to find a good spot for it unless I can find a smaller one. concrete gate, maybe? I don't think I've used the concrete gate before. Not on one of these builds. Maybe a small one. Not that small. Too small. Just a little gate, you know? Little tiny gate. Nothing too crazy. Just like a last little gate. What way does this move? That's a good question. Try to line this up in a way that I think is going to work. No, it looks weird. I'll circle back to it. Okay. So we've got our, main hall. We've got our walls. We've got our towers. We've got our bridge, and we've got our several gates. So now we get to start building the city around this place. We got to make sure that we have resources and infrastructure. So first things first, we're going to look at mining. I don't imagine they're going to need... Yeah, there's not much stone here because of where we're located. What is there in terms of ore and stuff like that? Most of the ore is over there in the area that I've already built. Okay, so not super convenient for them, but they have nothing but time, right? Maybe they're not super worried about efficiencies. They have nothing but time. These are skeletons after all. So efficiencies, maybe not their primary directive. They can wait a while for iron. What are they waiting on? Here's what we'll do. We'll place down a building that'll act as like the storage facility first. Get the buildings out of the way, and then we'll move on to the rest of it. You're going to see a lot during these kinds of builds. I've brought it up in my build videos before. I tend to get a couple ideas, do the ideas, realize I hate the ideas, circle back, try again. Place, delete, move, get halfway through a portion, and then, skip out on it and go to something else. And that's just part of my process, creating the theme of the build, creating the look, the aesthetic. Ooh, that is really bright. Although it does kind of lend to these. Maybe the acid-soaked rain would kind of bleach the buildings a bit. It is really bright, though, especially compared to the tower. I might end up switching these out. I'm not sure yet. That is very bright. How would the brown look instead? If this is better, I might switch everything out to the brown. Oh yeah, that does look better, doesn't it? It seems a bit more faded, but more realistic. This is almost bleached. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna switch those out for the brown ones. Place this right in the middle. Put that right there. All right. So that's been placed, and we're gonna dismantle these towers here because I think I like the brown towers better, and that's okay. And more towers. Tower 1 brown, yeah. I just think these look a little bit better. They look kind of less bleached, they're not quite as white, as clean. Yeah, well, exactly what Eddie's saying. They've put out videos of their build system already. It's a lot cleaner. I think it's gonna be really good. It's gonna be really good. Very excited about it. From everything we saw in those alpha videos, and those were years ago. That's the other thing too to remember, is that those videos that they put out showing the build system, those were years ago at this point, like 3 years ago. Some of them even older. So like what we're gonna get now could be infinitely better than what we saw in those videos, in those demos. So much better, much better. Replace these with the brown towers. I think these they fit thematically a little bit better. They look less bleached. What about Kenshi got me into Kenshi? So I told this story in the last stream, but I'll tell it again because it's a funny story. So when I first played Kenshi, the reason why I played it was I was working a retail job at the time, right? I was a assistant store manager for a rather large retail chain, whose name I will not say because they're a very litigious company. But I was working as fuck it. It was Walmart. I was working for Walmart. I was an assistant store manager for a Walmart, and it was right around the time that COVID-19 started, and I had been my store was still open because obviously they COVID guidelines and stuff were put in place, but my store was still open, and I got really sick. I got a really bad sinus infection, and I sounded like I had been smoking for like 35 years. So I went into work one day, and we had to go through this checkpoint where they would ask you a bunch of questions. Have you traveled in the last 30 days, all that stuff, yada yada. And when I got up there and they heard me talk, I sounded like I should have changed my name to Champagne, right? Like, my name is Champagne. And so they sent me home. Long story short, my boss sent me home, and I ended up getting taken out of work for 2 weeks because of COVID and quarantine, all that stuff. So while I was sitting home for 2 weeks, my buddy John, he's been in several of my other videos. I think he was the second voice in my Nugget Mafia videos. My buddy John was like, "Hey man, you're out for 2 weeks. I've been playing this game called Kenshi." He'd been playing Kenshi for like a year at this point, I think. He kept talking about it, and I had always just kind of like brushed him off, like, it sounds cool, but it doesn't really sound like something can be for me. And so I finally was like, you know what, it's on sale. I'll pick it up. And so I picked it up, and the first playthrough that I did was the guy and his dog start. So I did the start, and I played it for about 15 minutes, and I was immediately butchered by Holy Nation and United Cities. My dog died nearly immediately. My settings had not been changed at all, and I had them set to the lowest setting because I was using a really, really crappy computer at the time. I had I think a 1080 Ti. Like, I was running an integrated GPU. It was like a custom-built 1080 Ti integrated GPU. Just really low settings, so my game looked like crap. And I died near immediately, and I didn't have any idea what was going on. There's no tutorial. So, like, I didn't know what was happening. I just clicked somewhere and died. And I hated it. I hated it. I was so confused. I was like, this game is strange. It seems not well, what was it? Not that it wasn't well put together, but like, it seemed like it looked bad, and that was entirely my own fault because I was running the game on a potato essentially. And I was super salty about it, and I was mad, and I didn't pick it up for like for like 2 days. And then I picked it up again like 2 days later. Well, I was stuck sitting home, and my wife was gone doing her own stuff. And, that time I did the Wanderer playthrough, and I started to get a little bit better. I started to do good. Things were going good. I didn't die immediately, and slowly it grew into just a love for it. And then, as time went on, I ended up becoming more and more curious about the lore, because lore is a big thing for me. It's wrong building type. I became more and more curious about the lore, because lore is a big thing for me. And 3.5, 4 years later, here I am. So, in short, I love Kenshi because the game. What is it? I came for the beatings and I stayed for the lore. That's how about that? TLDR. I came for the beatings, stayed for the lore. As I'm sure many people understand and agree. And also, I just respect Lo-Fi as a company quite a bit. I like what they do compared to a lot of game companies, both indie and AAA. But thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you like them. I put a lot of work into them, so I do appreciate that. Stay tuned. I got another one coming out later this week. It's not so much a new lore video, but it kind of breaks down the overarching theme of Kenshi and my theory on that theme. I'm trying to put together this like village here. I want it to look like the kind of place that you'd live in for 1,000 years. So I'm trying to strategically place these buildings down, but I want a good variety. I'm going to stick with the Moore buildings just because I think the brown Moore buildings look good. They look clean. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate that. I try to, put a lot of thought and work and effort into them, and they get, sometimes they get mixed reviews here and there. Sometimes they don't get seen for a while. So I really do appreciate the kind words. I put quite a bit of effort into them. Where are we? There's got to be another couple of options here. Oh, right, the saloon. Hold on, there's a saloon here that I think would be good. Brown saloon. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. All right, so where are we going to put the saloon? Saloon, you want it to be kind of... When you first walk into a base, you want the saloon to be nearby, right? Like, you want it to be kind of a good focal point when you first come in. So I think we're going to prop you... maybe like right here and have it actually be partially not submerged, but like part of the building is built into the water. I think that would be a unique idea. Actually, there's this little bit of flat land right over here. Yeah, I imagine we're going to get more non-linear systems in Kenshi 2. It's from what I've seen so far, both in their demos and in their update videos, it's looking like a very sophisticated system. They're doing a lot of really sophisticated things. The buildings in themselves look crazy. They look absolutely bananas. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with things like the food farming system. I hope they revamp the shop system. I think the shop system could use a really good overhaul, because right now the only way you're ever going to make any real money in shops is if you open a restaurant or you're selling medical supplies. That's really about it. So I hope we get a revamp in the shop system too. All right, let's take a peek through some more of these. We can use some of these metal wall houses too, I suppose, because these look like a bit more artificially constructed. So like these could have been casted, during the time of the Second Empire, although most of this area was probably partially submerged at the time, but who knows. And then they drop these. I always try to make these a bit more, like, a bit lore friendly. Like, I try to maintain some of the lore in these as well as I possibly can. And I think, for me, I find that helps with the build itself, because, we know how certain factions behave, what they do. And keeping things lore friendly with those builds, or as lore friendly as you can get, helps me come up with decisions and stuff. So, let's see, where's my side ramps? I think Kenshi 2 is going to, I have so much to say about Kenshi 2, and I'm so excited about it, and I hope that my expectations are met. But I'm really excited about how it looks. It looks super clean. I think setting up on the Unreal 5 engine is the smartest thing they could have done. Hands down, smartest thing they could have done. There's got to be a better spot for this. I think there is. I'm going to manually put these right here. Setting up on Unreal 5 is the best thing they could have done. I know some people are really on the fence about it. I think it's going to look fantastic, as we've seen already. I mean, even in some of their, like, shitey demos that they've showed where, like, it's super janky and weird, it still looks phenomenal. It runs so smooth. The physics engine looks absolutely wonderful. I have yet to see one piece of concept art, one piece of like model or anything that they've put out that I have not just been absolutely flabbergasted by. It looks great. I mean, it just looks great. So I have no worry. The only thing I'm worried about is the amount of time that I'm probably going to sink into the game, because for God's sakes, Kenshi 1, I sunk 3,000, just under, I'm about 2,000 hours in. And there are people who have a bit more than me, but, for having a wife and 2 children, 2,000 hours, that's a lot of time to not be spending with them. Oh, man, that's awful of me. Now that I say that out loud, I have reservations about that, but I've sunk a lot of time into this game, and it's because of the deep love and appreciation I have for it and the lore, and the deep respect I have for the developers. So I have no doubt Kenshi 2 will meet my expectations in the same way. All right, so I'm going to do a save and reload to make sure that everything I've placed down is not only persistent, but to do a couple of quick testing, because you always want to save, reload, and test quite a bit during these builds. Usually when I do my build videos, I do the testing afterwards, to make sure that everything works good before I post it. That way, when I'm doing my narration, I can address any of the things that are not working. But because we're doing it on stream, we're gonna do some of the testing on live. So we know the bridge works. Obviously, this man is standing right here. Everything's working pretty well on that front. Everything well on the bridge front. So good right there. I'm gonna make sure these ramps work. Send him up here. All right, ramps are working good. Walls are looking good. Let's see how the tower functions. Can I get up on top of this tower? It's possible. And we're up. Okay, yeah, so the tower works just as well, which is really good because that means I can post an automatic harpoon with a spotlight here and here and just rain hell on enemies coming across this bridge. I mean, this is an absolute kill box. So that's good. These guys are fighting. Where are they fighting? They're getting beat up somewhere else. Not worried about them. All right, so that works so well. Works well over there. And all of these should be working as well. This area I've cut off just because if I make the base too big, we start to experience some other issues. And I think this is a good size. I mean, this is a solid size base as is. So we're gonna stick with this. But everything appears to be working wholeheartedly so far with no issue. The weird time. Hold on. Get the lightning out of there. There we go. Downside of the Shift F12 is every time you hit the button to open the build menu, you take a screenshot. That's always fun. All right. I have, I think I cleared out 3,000 screenshots the other day, and it was all just me doing this. All right. I want to try to make a couple of different areas in terms of like sectioning things off. So you first walk in, you got this area here, you got a small little tower there. We're going to put a small bridge right there just to connect it. I think I have another one of these arch bridges that's small. That's even the small one is not small. Pontoon bridge? Small one? Maybe, possibly. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. I'm going to level you out. Maybe I should do a slightly larger one. That's almost too big though. I'm trying to avoid using wooden ones because wood would literally decay and fall apart here. There's no way that it would work. So I'm trying to avoid using the wooden ones, but I might end up having to just use a wooden one because it doesn't appear. Oh no, that's way too big. Oh, it's a small version. That might work. It's a little small, but is there a normal size one that I can maybe just lower down? Yeah. The real question is how far over does this go? Am I gonna have to like scooch it super far back? How far over does that go? Nope, doesn't impede on anything. And then I can probably just scooch it down. Keep it above the water right there. And then, boom. Yeah, all right, there we go. Bridge leads to that tower. I think that's acceptable. Not bad. All right, so next things next. We got to start thinking about things like production. They're not going to have food here. That's for sure. They don't need food. They have their skeletons. Would they be worried about mining and production? Well, they don't. They're going to need resources for building weapons and armor and all that stuff in the event of invasion. Probably. I don't think they'd be super worried about the quality or location of the placement just because, again, they have nothing but time. You know, they've been here for 1,000 years. Almost no one's bothered them in that time. So I don't think they'd be worried if they're not producing a super high volume or very quickly because they literally have nothing but time. And they also have no real concept of time in many ways. Things just pass and things just keep going for them. So I'm going to drop some ore there and probably production right there. And then maybe we'll put some storage cases over here. And I'm gonna jump around between what I'm doing quite a bit. This is just my general my process, I jump around a lot while I'm building. I start to work on one thing and then I move to another. I start placing buildings and then I move to walls and stuff. It's just, I have a weird process about doing it because if I get distracted or if I get frustrated or can't think of anything, I find that taking some time away from that particular idea and moving to another one tends to help me kind of work through it, so, and come up with an idea. So we're mining ore right there, so we have ore. I also need to make a spot to mine steel plates and iron. So we're gonna drop that down. All right, so now we have a source of steel plates, steel bars, and ore. And we're gonna wanna do the same thing with iron. So we're gonna find an iron mine, quarry, processor, stone mine. Ore to steel bars, quarry mine. I don't think they're going to be worried too much about quarrying anything. Resource, steel refinery, stone mine. Nothing. Raw iron. Yeah, we're going to drop you right here. Right there. Alright, so now we got a small little section over here for industry. We got a couple of houses. I'm going to continue adding some buildings here to kind of make it feel a little bit more full. A little bit more lively. And then eventually here I'm going to switch off to focusing on defense. We'll start working on towers and turrets and all that stuff. So, alright, so we've got these houses here. These are not bad for creating like interconnected alleyways and whatnot. I like to line up the pegs, the posts here if I can. Sometimes they don't always line up right, and that's okay. But if I can, I like to line them up. But these are really good for creating alleyways and like multiple buildings kind of jammed together to create that really tight, nice, like knit feel. Listen, man, it's never too late to learn. And I hate to listen. I don't want to no one's good. I don't want to make anyone else feel bad, but like no one's ever really good at Kenshi. We just learn to exploit it easier than others in some cases, but like no one's really good at Kenshi. We all just survive Kenshi. Kenshi just kicks all of our asses collectively. And that's part of the fun of it, you know, is that at some point we're all going to get our ass kicked. Very few of us, you know, even me with all the hours and time I put in, I get absolutely robbed. For every like good playthrough I have, I get absolutely robbed through one of them. It's just part of the fun. That's the joy of Kenshi, is that you know, you get your ass kicked, and that's totally fine. We love that. That's part of the fun. It's part of the majesty, the mystery, the mystique. All right, we'll drop a couple more of these. And if you're not fantastic at the main game, you can always try building. I enjoy building quite a bit. Obviously, you know, I play the game as well, but I always enjoy the building aspect of it. I wish I had pre-ordered the original Kenshi, like back when it first was coming out and getting ready for release, but I didn't know that it even existed until like 2020, when my buddy was harping on me about it for a long time. You know, it came out in 2018. It was in early access for a really long time. I wish that I had been in the original crowd. I would have been able to get a jump start on this whole YouTube thing way faster. But no such luck. You know, you got to kind of live with what you got. But I wish I'd gotten into it earlier. That's for sure. Just because of the amount of enjoyment that I've gotten out of it, the amount of time I've put into it, I probably could have gotten my YouTube career started earlier. I feel like I want to do something with this pond here, like this little like watery area. I feel like I want to do something with it, but I don't quite know what it is that I want to do yet. Where's what is it? It's the swamp dome, just the platform though. Large round. There it is. Okay. This could be an interesting add-on right here. So maybe a little outdoor market for the Black Desert. They don't really have one of those. Right here. Make sure my items are grounded. Those look like they do touch the water, which means they probably go all the way down. Should be fine. Yeah. Yeah, should be fine. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, see? They go all the way down. I'm good to go. And actually, that blends really well with the general aesthetic too. The general theme, the general style. That looks nice. All right, I'm liking how this is coming together. It looks like a nice, clean, very defendable base. I'm really enjoying how this is coming together. We obviously still have some work to do. We're not near done yet, but we are getting closer. And yeah, I'm feeling good about it. So let's keep going and see what else we can kind of fill our space with. Because you want to clutter it up, but you don't want to clutter it up too much. You know, you want it to feel lived in, but you don't want it to feel super unnecessarily tight. I think I'm going to shift gears and move into defense for a minute. So these are old skellies, right? They've been here for a long while. So we're going to have some multi-barreled auto harpoon turrets with lights. Love that. And I just imagine people crossing this bridge just getting absolutely lit up. Absolutely lit up. And we're going to put another poon right there. And then there's some nodes up here as well. Corner. And then from that corner we should be able to shoot off right there. And then I think I'm going to put another... Is there one up here? No, I'll leave those alone. Okay, so we got some good harpoons right there. And then whoever is living up here, which in this case, because it is this is essentially a retelling of the Black Desert City, just in a different location, probably Dak and Quinn. This would be the new location of the scrapyard, the scrap house, would be in here instead of over there. And it's probably honestly built a little bit better because the scrap house, for as big as it is, they don't utilize the space very well. It's just their little tiny workshop in the center of that massive structure. So this is probably a nice change, but I really like that. And actually, you know, now that I think about it, see, this is why we shift gears. Now that I think about it, I don't even have any power, and I'm definitely going to need power. So I don't think wind generation does much here because there's not actually that much wind. So we may need to use generators, which run on biofuel, but doing biofuel is going to be difficult because we don't have any plants. So we're probably going to have to use oil and use the oil for generators. Turns oil into fuel for generators. Yeah, so we're probably going to have to run on oil. So let's go down to mining and see if there's a thing for oil, or possibly in farming. I don't actually know where oil is because I don't typically use oil in any of my builds, but we want it to be functional. Functionality is always an important thing when I'm putting these bases together. So power, oil refinery, and then would it be under mining maybe? Mining, oil drill right there. All right, is there any? Yeah, it's just this tiny little workshop in the middle of a super large building. And like, don't get me wrong, like it's fine. Like, I guess I can understand to a degree, but like, I would think that they would have a much oh, there's oil out here. That is interesting. So there's actually really good oil right here. So maybe we'll drop a couple of oil refineries out here, and they'll just have to send people out to mine for the oil, to like gather up the oil. It's like a literal oil field. A couple of them. These guys got nothing but time. You know, they're out here for 1,000 years. Nice. Yeah, it's just this tiny little workshop in the middle of nothing. Middle of nothing. It feels like they could have utilized that space much better. They had 1,000 years to do it. You know, they just, I don't know why they haven't expanded. You would think they'd have like racks upon racks of workshop. I mean, they only have so many like actual resources, so maybe they just didn't have the literal items to make the space. Like, they've only got so many resources out there. It's not like they can just like go and get more shelves, you know, from the store, build new shelves out of wood or anything like that. So maybe it's a resource issue, but I don't know. It did always strike me as weird. They don't have anything going on there other than that tiny little workshop. So I think that this citadel would make a much nicer, workshop for the scrap house and all that stuff. Much nicer location. So All right, so we got a couple of oil refineries where they will bring the oil from that section outside. Is there like a... There's a knob there. I just want to make sure that the... Yeah, so we'll do it right there. All right, so we're going to set these right here. This is where we will refine oil for power. Actually, I'm going to place a building down right there that we will put the oil once it's done and the generator's in. We'll always want to have a generator building, protect them from the elements and whatnot. So I'm going to put it down a generator building first. And I think, in terms of a building, no, too big. This one will do. Brown. We'll kind of put it in the wall, in the side of the rock a little bit. All right, so in there, that's going to be our generator building, right? This is where we will house the generators once those are put together. Or we would house the generators, because I tend not to go into interior edits during these build videos, just because that is a whole different beast. But what we will do is we will put, it's our power, the oil refineries out here. So we'll put those refineries up. I'm also not nearly as good at interior edits in comparison. That would be my buddy John's territory. That man is an absolute mad lad when it comes to building and editing interior cells. Much better than I, that is for sure. He goes overboard with things like the clutter mod. I mean, like, this dude's like putting individual items on shelves. He's like overboard. The guy spends hours putting like his little Kenshi kitchen together, and putting individual loaves of bread and stuff on shelves. I mean, he does fantastic work. It's so much. I could never. It's so much. So all right, so we've got a power station, a couple of buildings here. We're starting to come together. We got the saloon over here, a couple powers over here. It's not too crazy yet. I do wonder how a couple of these sandstone, like the typical buildings would look, like the long houses and stuff. Everybody knows, if you watch the channel long enough, you know that the long house is my favorite building. So I am curious as to how these might look. And I might actually try to like layer this building with long houses. That could be really cool. Try to get it into the foundations, so that way it's not, and there's no clipping issues or anything like that. Not terrible, actually. It doesn't look too terrible, and it kind of blends semi-well with the Moore collection. It doesn't look terrible. I kind of like it. Yeah, I kind of like that. So maybe we do another one on the other side. Maybe we do another one over here. How's that look? Ooh, that's a really tight fit, though. Maybe... I don't want to make anything too inaccessible. So maybe we raise this up a little bit. Put you right there. Where's the entryway? It's kind of on that slope. That is a bit annoying. That is a tad obnoxious. Here's an idea. Where is the station house? We love the station house. There's an old variant. There it is. Just kind of tie everything together a bit more. Let's see what we can do with this. I'm gonna figure this out. This is the kind of experimentation that I do a lot during these videos. That kind of gets usually glazed over, because I speed up the footage when I go back through them. So, but like a lot of this experimentation is part of like my process. It's how I go through and create these. It's a little off, a little weird, maybe. Hold on, let me place it and see if I can move it into position to where I like it a little better. It's a little tight, but to be honest, it is not bad. I don't like that it is floating. That is not okay. Maybe I lower you down a tiny bit, lower you down with it, and then lower you down too. Floating is never good. Don't like when it's floating. And I gotta make sure those bars are not in my way. Alright, much better. So now we're sunk into the ground. That looks better. Looks cleaner. Okay, I kind of like that. It's got like a unique vibe to it, a good feel to it. It's almost like a little mini chateau in the center of the city. That's cool. Yeah, it looks good. I like that. All right, we're coming along. So we've got power over here, oil fields out here. I don't mind putting these out here, just like out in the random, because it's literally like it's just an actual oil field. You know, these buildings are out here collecting oil. The skeletons come out every so often. Because I mean, to be honest, who's coming out here to attack these skeletons that often? Not many, right? It's not happening that often. So every so often they come out, they collect the oil, they bring it back to the generators. I don't think they would be super worried about defending these. And even if they ran out of power, I mean, what is it to them? You know, they're skeletons. They don't need the power. They pretty much exist autonomously just forever. They just are there. Half of them are too depressed to even care because of, you know, CPU bloat and everything else. So, is what it is, you know. All right, we're going to save, reload, per usual. All right, wait for everything to kind of load up. All right, and we're looking good. We're looking good so far. So let me just test to make sure that all of these buildings are functional. Platform is usable. That's always good. So make sure you can get up here. Okay, so there is a small glitch right here, and I'm willing to bet that it has to do with the railings. So what I'm going to do, this is why we test, is I'm actually going to raise this up just a tiny bit and slide it over. Make the stairs more accessible and hopefully get them over that railing so that they are not causing any issues. And it's floating a tiny bit in the water, but it's not really noticeable unless you're, you know, really looking for it. So we're going to try that again. Save, reload. And we're going to see what happens. All right. Wait for my characters to load in. All right, old soldier, I'm going to send you over here. Oh, see? Doesn't happen very often, but sometimes you do get a crash. So, no big deal. And this is just because of the area that I'm building in. You know, it's a super tight area with a lot of issues. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So this is why we save and reload very often during these build videos. I'm glad that I did. So hopefully that's not a persistent issue and everything works well, but we should be fine. But this is why we save. This is why we save. We might have a couple of weird issues with the stream while it's loading in. That happens sometimes. We're almost there. There we go. Okay. All right, so we're going to head back up here. Should be able to go up the stairs. No, this building is still inaccessible. That is super frustrating. Super frustrating, but that's okay. All right. We may have to scrap this this station house, which kind of sucks because I really liked the way that the station house kind of drew everything together, but it may not work, and I really try to make sure these things are functional, so we may have to put the kibosh on that. Yeah, it's not gonna work, unfortunately. Upside is that while we're over here, we will check this particular building here. This one does work, I know that much. So everything is working here. No big deal. Good, 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 good. I am a little bummed about the station house there, but it's not the end of the world. These things do happen. So, and we just get right back to it. Hopefully we don't have any more crashing issues. But again, this particular area is a really volatile area to build in. This is why I typically haven't done a build video over here yet, is because this particular location is a very volatile area. There's just a lot going on. So, you know, I tried to do a build video here once before, and I had a couple of crashing issues, but this is the only area I've ever crashed in while building. And it could just be because of the amount of going in and out, and the particles on screen, and just it's generally just a very volatile area, both in lore and in terms of game. But no big deal. Double house. I don't think I've used this building yet. We'll try to use this to kind of break things up a little bit, add some more buildings. I'm really just trying to fill out some space now. This is kind of the point that I'm at now, is just trying to fill out some space to make the build look more full, look more lively, more real. Add in a couple of buildings here and there, and just kind of fill stuff out. Double house. I don't think I've built one of these yet, have I? I have not. Which is a shock, because this is actually one of my favorite buildings for this particular like building type, the Moore collection. These, if I recall correctly, you know, someone let me know if you guys remember better than me. The Moore collection, especially because I didn't play the beta, I wasn't in on the beta, but the Moore collection was the original building types that were in on the beta, wasn't it? Those were the types of buildings and building shells that were on the beta. Everybody knows? Maybe let me know in chat. I think that's correct, but I may be mistaken on that. But I wanted to say that all of the buildings were with this building type originally, like in the old world, as they typically tend to call it. We'll put you right here, and I'll probably just lower you down. And oh wait, hold on, I put the wrong kind. Silly me, I put the wrong kind. Double house. I think it's that kind, maybe. Yeah, that looks right. We'll kind of put you at a diagonal angle here, try to work with the landscape a little bit better. You'll notice how when I move the buildings down, the doorway floats like that. When you save and reload, that will rectify itself. That just is a temporary issue. And again, hopefully we don't have any, if not too many, more crashes, but I think that we're getting pretty close to the end of this particular build. Things are looking good. I do want to get some lights up in here, because at current it's really grim and dreary, and kind of looks plain, and you guys will see it. I don't know if anybody who's seen my build videos before will know, but when you put the lights down in a base, it's just chef's kiss. Absolutely wonderful. Really ties everything together. It's so good, so good. So fire torches will probably work. I would say no, like it doesn't make sense to me, but they use them in the Black Desert City, so you know. I think large ones. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we'll drop some right here. A couple in front of these buildings. Torches, man, they just, once you light this, light a build, like a city up or an outpost up, it just, everything comes together. Fucking chef's kiss. I like to do two, one on either side of all stairways and doorways. I find that gives me the best, like, amount of light where it's not super dull, and it kind of brings everything nice and tidy. There we go. There we go. She's coming together. It's happening. Oh, man. You know, I said it earlier. New videos dropping on Tuesday for channel members. It'll be accessible, and then everybody else will be able to see it on Wednesday. New lore video, and then later this week I'll be streaming again. This time I'll be streaming more of my Dwarves series. People seem to be really enjoying that. So stay tuned for that if you're, a fan of the dwarves. If you guys want to see the Dwarven Empire continue to grow and build, very excited about that. Drop these right at the beginning of this here bridge. Maybe actually even on the bridge. Yeah, it looks better. That looks better. In front of you. Let's go there. Maybe one over here for when they're working. Corner there. That looks stupid. Right there. Actually, this one probably doesn't need to be there. There we go. Alright, and we're going to confirm. And once we hit nighttime, those should light right up. Oh, no, they're already lit. Well, they're not doing too much out here, but they do kind of tie things together. Not nearly as much as they would in the normal settlement. Normal base, that's for sure. But, they're doing their job, I guess. Alright. Let's put some stuff up on this center walkway here. We've got really nothing happening here. Wouldn't that be funny? Let's see what we can put. To be honest, these little, not necessarily the cannibal shack, but these little swamp houses with the scrap metal and stuff kind of looks good. And I wonder if maybe it would look good in the Black Deserts, like in this setting. My thought being that they don't have a lot of materials to build here, so maybe they would at some point start using more scrappy materials. You see it in the Black Desert City a bit, where they're using that kind of scrap metal material. So actually, I'm going to put a couple of these little like swamp houses just off of the walkway here a little bit, and maybe see how that looks, aesthetically speaking. It's a little high. I hope those legs go all the way down. Oh yeah, they go down a fair amount, good enough amount. It is wood, so I don't know how I feel necessarily about the wood being there. It's not super good, but no, it kind of throws off the vibe. I like trying to experiment with adding some variety, but sometimes it doesn't always work that way. I do have a couple of more spacious building shells here that I downloaded to kind of add some stuff, but here's what we'll do. We'll put a couple of these along here. I wonder how deep to the bottom of this go. Does it have stairs? It does have stairs. Would it look ridiculous if I put it right here? Probably. Yeah, it would look ridiculous. A lot of experimentation, as you go through and play with stuff and figure it out. This one in particular, is a bit more difficult because it is in the Black Desert City. So in my pursuit of trying to make it stay relatively lore friendly, I always have to ask myself if the materials would work well there. Like literally, like the wood is not going to function here. So that's something that you have to consider. And also, like, does it make sense for the faction that's running it? Like, I like a lot of the buildings that I have set up here. I think it's just spacious enough to where, it's feasible and functional without being too cramped. I might add a couple of more right here just to tighten things up a bit. I don't want it to be too open, because if it's too open, then it doesn't look right. But I don't want it to be super cramped because I'm not going for a super tight-knit city vibe. That's not really the look that I'm going for here. I'm going for a more feasible, defendable replacement to the Black Desert City that we know and love, or some of us know and love. I've heard some people be very critical of the Black Desert City, but those people are probably Oakranites. Although many people seem to think I'm an Oakranite too, so it is what it is. It's because they paid me to make a propaganda piece on them. That's what it was. I was paid 3 shillings and a loaf of bread to make my which faction would survive the longest video, and By 3 shillings and a loaf of bread, I mean that I just tried to look at it objectively, but I don't know. That's kind of. I feel like it throws things off a bit. It's a bit large. As we get closer to the end, this is when I start to really like struggle coming up with what else to add. And this is a typical thing that happens in every build I do, but definitely a difficult piece of this whole puzzle is this part. I could put another one right here. I know that I said I wasn't going to because I thought that it kind of made things a little too tight, but maybe this particular spot like that wouldn't be too bad. Let's see how that looks. Oh, first I gotta straighten it out. Jesus. Okay. All right. We're coming together. She's coming together, everybody. How do you look over here? It's a bit of a tight squeeze, but I don't feel like it looks bad. I almost like it enough to where I would deal with the fact that it's kind of a tight squeeze, especially because over here is mostly just power generation and maybe like a defensive point. It's not like it's a huge issue, excuse me, for it to be a bit of a tight squeeze there. I try to avoid making super tight walkways like that because I don't like them, but like, I don't know, it works with it. It works with it. I like it. But what are we going to put here? That's the big question. What do we put on this center piece right here? We got a couple of decorative stuff we can put out. Let's use ramp, stove. We'll just drop a stove right here. Stove, anybody? Hold on. Just for shits and giggles, maybe add a new centerpiece to the base. This is purely me screwing around, so bear with me on this. Honestly, I kind of like it. I kind of like it. I likes it. I know I probably shouldn't like it, but I like it. Listen, so the faction video about which faction would survive the longest, I really tried to approach it as objectively as possible. I apologize if you posted that just a minute ago. I kind of lost track of what I was looking at the chat for a minute, but that video, I really tried to approach it as objectively as possible. And there are some things that I did not talk about and I did not consider, but like a lot of the conversations that I see revolving around the factions in Kenshi tend to be moral arguments rather than objectively correct arguments, right? Or correct is probably not even the right word. They tend to be moral arguments though. And in terms of survivability, morals isn't always something that has to do with it. I'm not a huge fan of the Holy Nation in regards to their morals by any means. I don't really like the way that they do things. The Shek are my favorite faction, which really bummed me out when I realized after doing the video that the Shek are kind of falling apart, like more than I realized. And in terms of structure, they're not doing well. And the truth is that if anybody other than Asada is in charge, they'll probably fall apart. They'll end up dying. They'll literally kill themselves, and all that will be left is stray Shek in the United Cities. And like the Shek as a race will still be around, but the Shek kingdom will be gone. They'll end up going back the way of Shagger, and it'll fall apart. And there's always opportunity for me to be wrong in terms of what ifs, in terms of maybes or hoodbees or any of that stuff. But everything I saw pointed to the idea that at the current state of all the factions, the most stable one is the Holy Nation. And it makes sense. They've been around the longest. I'm not super happy about it. The Holy Nation are not fantastic people. They're not great to be around. But in terms of who is the best for survival, the Holy Nation kind of wins. They're whatever they're doing is working. And then in terms of who is best for humanity, the Holy Nation again presents the best chance for survival for humanity, but that doesn't mean they're moral. It's a struggle because people want to equate it to a moral argument, but it's not a moral argument. It's a survival argument. And I tried to be as objective and realistic as possible when going into the subject, because it's not as simple as which faction is the nicest. The answer is they're all not nice. They're all kind of bad, right? They're all evil in some fashion. They all represent different sides of evil, different sides of humanity. And the reality is the Shek are just as racist as the Holy Nation are. They're just not allowed to do anything about it right now because Asada won't let them. But, all of them are bad. And a lot of people really didn't like, admittedly, that I said that the Holy Nation would survive the longest, because morally, that sucks. They're kind of jagoffs to almost everybody, but it's not a moral question. It's I think the only thing that there was a real question about in terms of what I had said was whether or not the citizens of the Holy Nation are happy, because I think someone would point out that they do have a large gap. A large percentage of or a portion of their population are women, and women are very, very restricted and oppressed in the Holy Nation, and that is absolutely true. But the argument that was made is that it was like 50% of the population, and I'm gonna be honest with you, 50% of the population is not women in the Holy Nation. Absolutely not. There's like a 3-to-1 ratio. There's no way. So and even then, especially because the Holy Nation has perfected indoctrination into their beliefs. I mean, they've created paladins and people that are so devout that they are willing to throw their life away for the Holy Nation, right? They believe in their faith so fervently that they're willing to throw everything away for their religion and for their nation. And so, I would go so far as to say that, well, women are absolutely oppressed. I don't think every single woman that's there is super miserable. I think a good portion, majority of them are, sure. But I think that women make up a smaller portion of the population in the Holy Nation. And not every single one of the ones that are there are necessarily anti-Holy Nation, because they've been indoctrinated to think that, like, their place in the world is following the tenets of the Holy Nation, of Okrinism, So, again, it's not ideal. It's not great. But even the argument about the happiness thing is there's some room there for it to possibly still lean towards the Holy Nation being happy with an asterisk. I'll throw an asterisk in there because there's definitely a lot of unhappy people. But I would say that more of them are happy than not, because they've been religiously indoctrinated so aggressively. It's a tough subject. It's a tough subject because a lot of people really want to mix their moral feelings about the faction with the objective standpoint of whether or not they are functional, survivable, and lasting. And the reality is they're very stable. They are very stable. The current Phoenix is a lot more aggressive than the previous Phoenixes. That's for sure. Phoenix Psi, I don't know. But they're very stable. And that's really hard to dispute. They're not really losing territory. The only city they've lost in recent years was the hub. And they lost the hub because the Shek took it. But it wasn't like the Shek beat them wholeheartedly. The Shek took it initially, and the Holy Nation had managed to drive them back. Well, this city's coming along really nice, actually, now that I see it from an overhead. I'm really liking how this is coming out. The Shek took it, and that's great. But then the Holy Nation drove them back after months of beating on them, and the Shek couldn't maintain their position. Like, the Holy Nation beats them in numbers, hands down. I would argue that, well, the Shek have a biological advantage. The Holy Nation have, their training is very thorough. The Paladins, the Knights, the Holy Nation servants, not so much. you know, they're not very well trained, but that's because they're like the bottom of the totem pole. But like paladins, the sentinels, the inquisitors, they're all very well trained. You know, they're not you're not dealing with the average Holy Nation warrior anymore. You know, these are some well trained men, and they are well, may not have that biological advantage that the Shek do. They definitely have a training advantage over the Shek in many regards, other than like maybe the 5 invincibles. But even if they didn't, it's a numbers game. They outnumber the Shek 3-1, 4-1, and they battered the hub for months until eventually the Shek had to retreat and they lost that position. The only reason that they don't have the hub now has nothing to do with the Shek, and it's because the Shinobi thieves were assassinating them when they sent a group to try and reclaim the hub, and they think that the hub is haunted. So, I mean, I guess the best chance to beat the Holy Nation in terms of the lore is probably to make them think that you are like, that like there's some kind of supernatural entity on your side because they're terrified of that crap. But I don't know, man. That video was a tough one. I was really hesitant. I've actually had that video in my back pocket for like a couple of years. And I was super hesitant to make it, but I thought that I was at a point in my YouTube career where I could do it without risk of people like conflating those beliefs with me. Because again, it's just such a really touchy subject, because people think that to agree that they are survivable is somehow to conflate that I'm agreeing with them on like a personal level. But again, it's not a moral argument. At least not to me, you know. I think that it's important to be good. I try to encourage everyone to be good, but like that doesn't mean anything, you know. Not all of the best nations in the history, like the most successful, most survivable nations in history, have been morally good. So, you know, it's tough. It's tough. All right. Yeah, I mean, this is coming along really nice. I'm truly satisfied with how this is looking. You know, I don't get to do a montage video like I usually would. I really need to figure out what to do with this podium here. There's got to be something here, because it's looking pretty plain right here. But other than that, I'm feeling really satisfied with this. I think it's coming along really nicely. I should probably put a couple of turrets over here to defend like the oil fields. I like the idea that they have this like behemoth over here, just like looking over the city, right? Like he was like a guardian almost of the city. I think that's a really cool concept, really cool idea. Defense, where you at? There you at. Again, we're gonna use some multi-barreled harpoon turrets because these are skeletons and they've got some fundage on them. We're gonna put 4. I really want to make sure they can defend the oil fields. So, plus if enemies try to you know skirt around and come down through here and attack, like the walls here. So I think we're almost done here. I think we are almost done. Things are looking good. And yeah, and that's the point that I make. Like from a moral standpoint, I don't agree with me either. I don't like the things that the Holy Nation does. I think morally they are wrong and apprehensible. And I think that to disagree with me on a moral standpoint is totally fine, because I don't even agree with my assessment on a moral standpoint. But it's not really a moral question, you know. It's tough. It's tough. But I like talking about it, you know. And I think these kinds of conversations, even though it's just a game, I think these kinds of conversations are important. I think that it's good to have these kinds of conversations and to approach these things from an objective standpoint, because Kenshi has such a rich and diverse world, and it has such a deep and interesting history and lore behind it. I mean, literally, I've made my entire YouTube channels basically built around Kenshi lore, and I think that to ignore aspects of it or to not talk about certain aspects of it because they are morally apprehensible is not fair to the writing and the work that has been put in by the team over at Lo-Fi. And also I think that it does good for people on an individual level to have a consequence-free type of subject matter to talk about these kinds of things, because Kenshi is a game, but there are also things that happen in real life that have a similar kind of situation where they're morally not correct, but maybe it's not a question of moralities, it's a question of what is the best thing long term, and being able to approach real life subjects that same way is just as important. In my own experience, some of the best things that I've ever done, the most important things that I've ever done, have made me feel like complete shit. And I think that's a good thing to be able to explore in a consequence-free way. James, how you doing, buddy? Glad to see you. I hope everything's going well. I think that being able to explore those kinds of things in a consequence-free way, and like a game like Kenshi, it doesn't. I'm not saying Kenshi improves your life. It does kind of prepare you to approach your own life in the same situation. You're in a similar fashion, where you can look at problems that objectively are not great, or situations that are going to be objectively not great and make you feel bad, but sometimes it's the best thing, and maybe that's me, sitting on my high horse a little bit too much, or me trying to read into it a bit too much, because again, it is a game. But I do think that having a consequence-free place where you can kind of experiment with being able to look at things from an objective standpoint instead of an emotional standpoint or a moral standpoint is good. I think it's good for everybody. Now it's about the time of the evening when I start to ramble. Clearly. All right, I think we're almost done to the end of this build. I think she's coming along. She's coming along good. I'm just trying to check and see if there's anything maybe I want to add. Maybe a couple like buildings outside here that are maybe ruined. Like they used to have more buildings out here, and they fell apart over time, and they kind of receded in a little bit. That's always a possibility. We do like environmental storytelling, so maybe there's another wall right here that's punctured. Try to do a little bit of environmental storytelling with this. Drop you right here. One of these old moor walls, like this is a really old one. Yeah, I like that. A little bit of environmental storytelling, just to kind of spice things up a bit. Do you have any nicer looking buildings? Longhouse, old shack. Yeah, see, just a couple ruined buildings out here. I know I kind of added this Stobe corpse here as a joke, but I kind of dig it. He fits really well right there. He just looks good, and it's almost like he was a guardian of this city, right? And it makes sense because this is it doesn't make sense in terms of lore, but it makes sense in the idea that like this is the last bastion of the skeletons, right? Of like the not the Second Empire exiles that are insane, but like this is where the skeletons all went into exile, and then they have this big guardian kind of looking over them. It's almost poetic. Yeah, and I mean honestly, James, that's the morally correct answer, is to just kill everybody on Kenshi, because I'm gonna be honest with you, none of them are good. I've been asked. The Shek are objectively okay, provided Asada is in charge. The problem is Asada is not going to stay in charge. There's no way. The best hope for anyone after Asada would be like, that's what I'm saying. Stope, he fits, man. The best hope for anyone after Asada would be probably her daughter, and that's only because Asada has raised Seto with the same values and the same ideas, and also Asada sends Seto out with you to learn more about the world so that Seto can eventually take over and have those ideas, have those ideals and those moral sensibilities, and be, less battle hungry and less battle driven and more, not less battle driven, but like more intelligent about their decisions, right? More worldly, more refined. Best hope for the Shek is if Asada takes over, but in the long run, if anyone else challenges Asada, it's going to be because they're sick of her essentially like handcuffing them, because that's what she's doing. She's handcuffing the Shek. They're pissed. Many of them are super mad. They do not want to be sitting around, not fighting the Ochre Knights. So a lot of them are furious. And if anyone else takes over, they're going to go right back to the same type of system that King Shagger was doing before, Asada killed him and took his post as head of the Shek Kingdom, as Queen of the Shek. And then they'll charge the Ochre Knights, and they'll all get absolutely butchered. They'll get murdered, absolutely massacred. They don't have the numbers. They may have the strength, but they don't have the numbers, hands down. Which is unfortunate because, again, the Shek are my favorite, but they're not going to win. So the Shek, maybe. I think probably the most morally correct faction of all of them is the Tech Hunters, because they just don't care about. I mean, they're in it for the knowledge, the money, the tech. That's it. But they don't really align with like a political belief or any of that stuff. They're like an armada of independent contractors. They don't really have a moral situation, a moral quandary, or anything of the sort. Even Tin Fist has his issues. Tin Fist, well, what he's doing is good from like a superficial stance. He openly admits that more people die from what he does than is saved. And as a result of his actions, more people die than are saved, because he goes through. It's not like he like saves these slaves and brings them back and feeds them and gets them all prepped and like sets them up and like sends them on a caravan out to like different areas outside of the UC where maybe they won't be enslaved, like sends them off to the border zone or something where like they have a better chance of survival. He runs through these slave camps in the deserts, kills everybody, and then sets the slaves free. But like most of them die in the desert. They get eaten by skimmers. They get eaten by animals. They get attacked by the rebelling peasants, like Tin Fist, and sometimes he even accidentally gets like they accidentally kill the slaves. They don't care about freeing the slaves. They care about killing the slavers. Even Tin Fist is not a great dude. Excuse me. What a night. We should put up a small area for training. I agree. One beep to rule the world, by the way. I totally agree. Beep is the real leader of the world. He's the man we all need. Where's my beep statue? I have a beep statue here somewhere. Where's it at? I think it's an exterior. It's my holy beep statue. Holy beep statue. Every city needs a holy beep statue. We do love our Lord and Savior Beep. Right there. I'll ruin the lore friendliness just for a holy Beep statue. Gotta pay homage to our Lord and Savior. Beep. Alright, I think the last thing I want to do is figure out what to do with this platform. I've been dancing around it for like 15 minutes. Probably longer. I don't know how to tell time. Silly me. I don't even know how to read. So what do we want to do up here? That is the question. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. Maybe a random couple of piles of random rusty junk to laying around just to like add some wrong key. Add some nuance, Does that look? Does it look bad? Yeah, it looks terrible. I tried. All right. They're not really doing slaves. They're not really doing animals of any kind. Maybe like an outdoor bar. I mean, because the skeletons don't really have anything to worry about in terms of the acid rain. Maybe there'll be like an outdoor like bar situation. Maybe we can do that. We'll do like a small outdoor bar. That could be fun. Big metal table. Some metal stools. I think actually I have a round table with a mat. Just a round large table. Is there a metal one? No? Alright. table here, table there, table there, table there, and then bear with me on this. Storage, shop counters, shop counter metal. It's gonna be rusty. Or a large one, yeah. Large rusty shop counter. Maybe we move this over a tiny bit. Right there. I'm trying to get it sort of center, but maybe not center. It's not perfect. Does it look bad? It's a little clippy, but it's not terrible. Good old rusty metal. All right, so we got some shop counters there. You walk in, you got the bar right there. Let me grab some stools. This is just something to add a little. Plus, this is where a lot of the enemies, a lot of people will be like sandboxing here as well, so that's something to consider. Interior, metal stool. There we go. Is there a shiny one? No. I was hoping for maybe like a shiny one. Couple of bar stools. Rotate this around. I might actually end up getting rid of some of these tables. I think they're a little cluttery and not in like a good way. Put you over here. Maybe just get rid of the one and spread the other ones out. There we go. Now she's coming along. Alright, back to it. Get some stools in here. Interior stools. Stools. And we'll just kind of place these haphazardly around the table just to give people a place to sit and you know, I don't imagine the skeletons care too much about getting rained on. It's acid rain, but like, they're skeletons, you know? It's fine. Good, good. That stool is on top of the table. The stool is still on top of the table. There we go. Jesus. So the table, the counter is not wood. It's actually rusty metal. I specifically picked this one because it's supposed to be like, quote, rusty metal. As for the table, it would absolutely, but I don't like the look of the metal tables because this is probably the only piece of wood that I'm going to put in this entire base. Because that's for the same, literally for the exact same reason. I haven't put any wood structures down thus far. But I'm going to make a brief exception because I wanted these big tables. And I don't have a metal one, unfortunately, so... but yes, in short, the acid rain would absolutely total these tables if they were, you know, functioning as tables. Oh, okay, we're getting some stool issues because of the terrain. I'll have to manually move them down. So a little bit of a lore break, but it's not... I mean, we've managed to keep this relatively lore-friendly given the circumstance. I'll take a small one with the tables. It's not that bad. I have to move these stools down. So, but this is supposed to be rust. There's a metal variant where it's like shiny and brand new. This is supposed to be rust, even though it looks like metal, and that's just because it's from a mod and the texture's bad. All right, so... oh, Jank, dang, QWERTY, I do appreciate it. Listen, much appreciated. Welcome to the guild, my friend. You know, it's huge. Thank you so much. You too, Zerzermov. Wow, much appreciated, everybody. That's huge for me. You know, that's crazy. I don't I don't know how to actually thank that. Thank you so much. You know, I'm glad you guys are enjoying the content enough to want to support me. That's huge. Thank you so much. All right, guys, I think that's solid. I mean, we got a nice little outdoor bar. Maybe we'll do a little covering. Actually, you know, we'll add some covering. How's that? That'll kind of tie things together a bit. Camping. Do we have a covering? Market tent. These would definitely get messed up, but I think it will. We'll add some like really shiny looking ones. Like these ones are not great looking. And I can manually move this over a bit, but just to add some like makeshift covering. I do like that idea. Yeah, much appreciated, everybody. Channel members get access to all of my long form content 24 hours early, and then obviously you guys get a special badge in chat and all that stuff, and you guys get access to members only polls to assist with you know, future direction of the channel. So oh, it's not gonna let me because it's too close to the building. Maybe I can place it over here and move it manually. James, very nice of you, my guy. As always, I appreciate your continued support. You've been a fantastic member to the channel. I know you've been watching me for a couple of years now, so I sincerely appreciate the support, my guy. Huge. It's really huge stuff. Yeah, awesome stuff, man. I truly appreciate it. Okay, you know, I like it. How are you guys feeling about it? Do you guys, how are you guys feeling at base? Anything you guys think I should add? Anything along those lines? I'm gonna save it. Yeah, man. Listen, early videos are early videos. 24 hours early. There should be one coming out on Tuesday for members, Wednesday for everybody else. It's kind of a breakdown of the origins of life on Kenshi. You know, I've talked about it a few times in other streams and stuff like that, but I finally decided to put it to a video. So, quick video on that, and then, you know, I got some other ones coming up soon, but you guys will get to enjoy them early. So, big stuff. Big stuff. Yeah, anything else that you guys think I'm missing? I mean, this looks like a pretty complete base to me. Looks pretty good. We even got Stove back there giving us the headless nod of approval. But I'm feeling pretty satisfied. I really like this box here. Oh, we can actually get rid of this now. You only have to place the shack at the beginning, and then you can get rid of it later on. But I'm feeling pretty good about this. I like the bridge. I would say, honestly, the bridge is my favorite part, just because those towers are a just absolute murder box. Absolute murder box. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. We could drop something on top of the longhouses. Let's... all right. Let's see. We'll do an interior edit for these. Automatic building replacement activity may lose data. Oh yeah, that's fine. Listen, if lore is my favorite thing, and I'm super excited for Kenshi 2 just to be able to have more lore. I mean, you know, people. I've had a couple people ask me about the possibility of, like, what happens if they put out lore, because Lo-Fi's could change the lore around. They've already said in an AMA that they are more than willing to retcon some lore. The lore for Kenshi is changing with the development of Kenshi 2, so there are some things that are going to change, and I'm okay with that. But I've had some people ask me about, like, what happens if they change the lore and it makes some of your other videos out of date. I'm totally fine with that. Yes, Kenshi 2 is a prequel. It takes place 900 to 1,000-ish years ago, just after the fall of the Second Empire. I'm totally fine with that. You know, there's a good chance that some of my videos are going to be outdated after Kenshi 2 comes out, and I'm totally fine with that, because, like, it just means new lore for me to explore, new ideas, new content to explore. I would love to be able to go back through. Like I have no issue making a video, be like, I was wrong. You know, I was wrong about this. I was 100% convinced this is what it was, and you know, that it is what it is. And here's the updated information. You know, I imagine so. The map's going to be wildly different. I actually put out a possible rendering of the map in my Cannibals video. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. There's a map that explains what the face of Kenshi looked like during the Second Empire because the water levels were way higher. I went through and I took a map of Kenshi as it is, and I used the natural landscape of Kenshi, and I went through on it wasn't Paint. It's something like Paint. It's called Krita. It's a free graphic design software. It's like Paint.net, but it's a little bit better. Anyway, the point is, I went through and I used the natural topography of the land and the natural like flow of rivers and all that stuff, and the elevation of certain areas, and also just like the general points that are show indication of water erosion to fill in the map and create what I believe to be a close, if not an accurate rendering of what the map on Kenshi 2 could look like. Now, there might be new landscapes that we aren't familiar with, but in terms of the actual continent that we're on currently, I think I have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like. And that kind of leans into the general fan consensus that boats are coming for Kenshi 2, and that they're going to be a main point of transportation. And hopefully, you know, we're going to see things like larger boats and maybe even shipboarding and maybe mobile boats with like mobile bases. I have no idea. Could be jumping the shark on this and getting too much into the weeds, but I think that would be, whoo boy, that'd be tight. That'd be tight. Don't you tell me what to do. Nope, I'm in interior edit mode. What can I put out here? There's gotta be something good that I can put up here. Yeah, I mean, you know, we don't have. So the thing is, boats aren't 100% confirmed, but I've talked about it in previous streams, and I've talked about it on video before. The community is so convinced that boats are going to be a thing that I feel like it would be irresponsible to not curb that expectation if it's not there, right? Like the community is so convinced that boats are going to be a thing. They're going to be there, right? And no, everyone is 100% certain. If boats were not in the game, you'd think that they would want to like curb that expectation a bit, or be like, hey guys, like, I know you guys are stoked about the boats, but like, we're not doing boats, you know. Like, otherwise everyone's 100% convinced. Every piece of concept art that has come out that shows people shows boats. It shows boats. They're everywhere. So I don't know. I hope they work well. I hope there's like small boats. I hope there's big boats. I hope there's boarding. Like pirates are supposed to be a thing too, according to the lore. Like pirates were supposed to be a big problem back then, or they were a big problem, and then they ended up becoming like more of a perceived problem. But like pirates are a thing, so I'm hoping that maybe, you know, we start to see pirates too. You know, and that would be cool to have ship battles where you can like board each other's boats and shit. That'd be awesome. That would be absolutely fire, my guy. Absolutely fire. Crafting. Any kind of... Oh, you know, we should check on... We should put some water stuff up here, right? Isn't there some water? Food. Farming. Put some water up here. Some water tanks. Rain collector. They can collect this crappy rainwater. Where you at? Rain collector. There it is. A couple rain collectors. Who knows why they need water, but, you know, everybody needs water. Everybody needs a little bit of water. Probably storage. I feel like they... they'd use the tops of these things for storage more than anything else. Good looking storage box. They do tend to have grog here, so maybe some grog. Got some old grog barrels. Kind of put them in a diagonal, kind of like they're up here erroneously, you know, just tossed about. Using these for storage. Medical kit. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna load this up here with like storage and stuff. Make it look like it's a spot where they just have a bunch of stuff stored away. A couple of random boxes, armor plate boxes up here. Building materials. We got some old building material crates. Yeah, just kind of erroneously fill it up with stuff, with junk. Same deal. Big deal. We're actually going to save it real fast. I always want to save it. All right, and then after I think after this building, I'm gonna call it. I think after that it'll be good. So we're gonna throw some more stuff up here for storage. Make this look nice and clean. Some big stuff. Agent safe. Anything big up here? It's too clean. Too clean. General storage boxes, that looks good. So how do you guys feel about these build videos? Do you guys want me to continue doing them on live stream like this, where we can kind of chat while we're doing it, or do you guys want me to go back to the old format where, you know, I kind of I build them and then I do like the montage at the end, and I record the narration after the fact? How are you guys feeling about it? I personally, I like both. I think both have been fun. I've enjoyed doing both, but I would like to hear your guys' your input. Put a couple more crates up right here. These metal barrels? No, those are wood barrels. Yeah, and I mean that's kind of the direction that I was hoping to go with it. I like being able to chat with people while I play. That's why I started doing the dwarf series too, and I think that it helps people kind of understand like my thought process and stuff a bit better, especially since most of the content that my long form content that people tune in for tends to be my lore videos or my commentary videos. Whereas gameplay videos, let's plays, build videos and stuff like that, they get attention, but not nearly as much. So I think that it would be a good transition to doing those on live stream, which is why I did it. Get to interact with people, and also when the footage isn't as sped up as it is on my like long form build videos, on my normal build videos that I upload. You get to kind of see much more of the process more in depth and really see how the Shift F12 menu works, and some of the nuances with it. A lot of people are really afraid to use the Shift F12 menu, and I like the idea of being able to convince more people that it's okay to use it. There's communities. Unfortunately, many people of the community have kind of, like veterans in the community, have kind of gatekept the idea of using it because, oh, it'll trash your game. But I've been using it for years and I've never had an issue. I could count the number of times I've crashed while using the Shift F12 menu on one hand in the last 3 years. I've never had a long form issue in my game. There's an unsafe way to use it, and then there is a safe way to use it. And my hope in doing these build videos is not only showing people what it can do and the kinds of like bases you can make in Kenshi, but also showing people that like there is a safe way to use this menu. There's a safe way to use the in-game editor, and showing them how to do that. Because I want people to be able to make these kinds of. I love seeing like posts on Reddit or anything like that, or posts show up on the Kenshi Facebook page with people screenshots of their bases, because it's just stunning. I mean, you can make really stunning bases, and I encourage more people to try it. And that's the other thing. A lot of people don't realize this menu is even here. Shift F12, boot it up, give it a go. Before you do any building, place down and build a small shack to manually create this barrier. And then anytime you place a new building, save and reload. If you have an issue where like you click a building and it says that it isn't owned by you for whatever reason, go to town placement, scroll all the way down to the bottom, your outpost, you place this little tower right in the dead center, and it will claim it for you, and then you just save and reload. It's that simple. And a lot of people are really nervous to use it because, again, they think there are ways in which you can tank your game, but like that doesn't mean you should swear off the whole menu. Avoid certain things. Don't not to be this guy, but like don't do anything I wouldn't do. But like my goal is to show people how to use it, and to show them that there is another way to play Kenshi too. And some people view it as cheating. It's something that boggles my mind that I've never understood, and I've had some people bring this up on my videos before. They think that all right, so say I hypothetically I build this building in game totally legitly. I use building materials to build it, right? I did not cheat it in or build it the way that I've been building this outpost or anything of the sort. I used materials to build it. If I go into the Shift F12 and I want to move it into a spot where like I might like it better, but the normal vanilla editor won't let me move it, I've had people tell me they think that's cheating. And like everyone's entitled to their own opinion of cheating, but like that's not cheating. You're building the building totally legitimately, and you're moving it is a way to like get around the limitations of Kenshi's engine by default, right? Like this tower, I would never be able to do this in vanilla. But by me moving this tower into this spot manually, even if I had built this tower with in-game resources, some people would accuse me of cheating by doing that. I think that's lunacy. That's lunacy. You can use the in-game menu, in my opinion, to legitimately build a base by building the buildings manually and then just using the menu to move them into location, right? That way you're not cheating. You're not cheating in buildings or spawning in buildings. You're just moving them to a spot that looks better. But some people don't agree. Some people think that's cheating, and I mean they're entitled to their own thing. And that's the other thing too. It's a single player game. Why the hell do you care how other people play their game? Why do you care? If I want to cheat in a building, I'll cheat in a building. If I want to cheat and have a corny experience, I'll do whatever I want. I totally agree, but unfortunately, there is a good a portion of people that like to gatekeep stupid crap like that. They exist, but to each their own, I guess. Look at that. Look at that beauty. His head pops off because he's not actually supposed to be there sometimes. But when it's on there, when Stope's head is on there, it looks good. It looks good. I like the look of it. What is going on over there? Whoa. Big old fight happening over there. I can't get closer, but big old fight happening over there. Really big fight. Up higher, maybe? Yeah. All right. Well, interesting. Yeah. So anyway, this is the build. I'm pretty satisfied with how it turned out. I mean, we'll do a quick little walkthrough using the free cam. We've got, because this will kind of act as the in place of my usual montage that I would do at the end of my videos, but without the music and more of me prattling on. All right, so we got the entry gate here. Got 2 turrets on either side. Very satisfied with that. First gate they have to go through. Once inside, I would station a couple skeletons in here to kind of act as like the vanguard, the front lines, the guardians. Maybe a couple people with some crossbows up here, eagle crosses. Then they have to fight their way across the gate, across the bridge. I mean, to the main gate. You got a tower there, another poon there, another automatic harpoon there with lights. So you're getting blinded and just like you're being forced into this small bridge here, and you're just into it like almost like a choke point, just getting absolutely massacred by automatic harpoons. Then you come in, and we got a couple random buildings here. You try to utilize the space as good as possible. Everything's walled in, very nice and secure. These towers are functional. I did test them earlier on the stream. For anybody that wasn't here, I did test them. You are able to get up to the top, so this is fully functional. Anybody that tries to swim across, not only will they not be able to get in, but this is acid, so they'll be burned alive, unless they're skeletons, in which case they probably shouldn't be attacking us. Moving forward, we got a couple buildings here, just some nice saloons, just a good amount of buildings. It's not too cluttered. I don't feel like it's too cluttered. It's just enough. Couple storage buildings up here. We got the nice outdoor bar, for the skeletons to sit in. I would say, why are the skeletons sitting in a bar? Because they don't eat or drink, but that kind of got disproven at the not the eat or drink thing, but like they clearly sit in a bar for God knows how long at the Black Desert City. So why not do it here? Before we head up top, we'll head over here. Holy Beef statue, non-canonical, but it's not very lore friendly. But our Lord and Savior Beep, as he be. We got a couple shacks, couple buildings. I like this where we got these nice and tight where it fits super well. You got a couple little tight alleyways here, but number of houses, number of buildings. And then over here would be where the power station is kept. And then up here is a view to the oil fields and the guardian of the city, which would be our grand behemoth over there that we decided to place down. And a couple ruins that kind of do some environmental storytelling. They kind of give this idea that this used to be an even bigger base, but it was they had to kind of retreat inward and fall back over time, which I think is good. We love environmental storytelling. And then up here would be the replacement for the scrap house over in the Black Desert City. And I think that is a much better replacement because I would hope there'd be a better utilization of space than there is in the scrap house, because currently in the scrap house there's not much space being utilized very well. So all in all, I think that is, I'm satisfied with it. I think it looks good. Yeah, very satisfied. Hell of a build. I would say this is probably amongst my top 3 favorite builds that I've done. I definitely like the scale of it. This is a larger build that I've done. The bridge, that airlock, as you put it, James, in the front, that's one of my favorite pieces, hands down. Very good. And that's the plan. This is where the skeletons, this is where they retreated to. They retreated here, and they've been here for 1,000 years undisturbed. And the idea is that even if you did come here, you're gonna need one hell of a force to take this place. And that's kind of the idea, is that this is the kind of hideaway that I would expect of the former denizens of the Second Empire. The skeletons wanted to be in exile, and part of exile isn't just going to an inhospitable place. It's going to a place where no one can get to you, but if they do, they're going to have to if they do, they're going to have to fight for it. So yeah, I'm satisfied with it, guys. I appreciate everyone spending some time with me here on stream today. I appreciate all the new members. James, you're a scholar and a saint as always, my friend. Absolute mad lad, true unit over here. Yeah, so use your powers for good instead of evil. Make a difference in someone's life. This has been Hero in His Head, and I'll see you guys in just a couple days for a brand new video, and I'll see you guys in a few days as well for another iteration of the Kenshi Re-Rise of the Dwarves, Return of the Dwarves. So I appreciate it, guys. Have a good night. See you later.